Today on Behind the Strength, we explore the journey behind an individual who's dedicated her life to making a difference. Dr. Rina Dev, a veterinarian whose work reflects deep compassion and commitment towards the welfare of animals and birds, while championing the coexistence with all living beings. Welcome to Behind the Strength, Dr. Rina Dev.
Thank you so much.
Doctor, what inspired you to pursue veterinary medicine and work with animals?
So, I don't think you get inspired when you're a toddler, but I think there are some things that you're just born with that come naturally to you. So, for me, it wasn't only about being fascinated by them. For me, it just came very naturally that I wanted to care for them. So, I don't think an inspiration at that point, but yes, through my journey, I realized that that was my calling, definitely.
Yes, I mean, you felt a pull towards them.
Yeah.
Was there a defining moment, that one little trigger that goes off saying that, this is my life's calling?
Yes, I think it's a build-up because, nowadays people still understand animal welfare, they understand cruelty.
Right.
But as a kid growing up, I would see so many stray dogs, get beaten up by people. Yes. I still have this incident in my head where it was New Year's Eve and there was this stray dog and people had tied crackers to its tail. And I still remember how bad I felt at that point when I saw that happen. Including, you would see during our times, during our childhood, we would see these bear people coming. The Madaris with the bears, walking past our street. And there was a sense of excitement to obviously see a bear, in Mumbai. But at the same time, see how they were, brutally taken around to beg. You would see that they put these spikes in their nose and made them dance. So as a kid, and most people, not only as a kid, even most people would think it's very entertaining. But I think at that point itself, I felt a lot of empathy. I felt that, no, this is cruel and they, they deserve to be in the wild. So a lot of incidences like this, right from the time that I was growing up, I saw probably road kills on the road, dogs dying on the road, reading of incidences where people have been cruel to animals. So collectively, I realized that this is my calling and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yes, but to make it a profession, we all have this feeling, I mean, not all, some of us have this feeling towards animals, and you see the cruelty and you want to promote it and you say this is wrong, this is not correct, we must stop this. There are very few who make it a profession for life because you're dealing with that every day. It must be draining.
So I know this, and for a fact, I had very supportive parents who even when it was like bringing a small little bird home when I was a kid, and I remember even the first thing when I graduated my 10th grade and my father asked me okay, you're free to go out, you want to watch a movie, you want to go out with your friends for lunch or something. And the first thing I said is, I want to go to an animal shelter and help over there. And that's exactly what I ended up doing, and that was something I knew that was within me. When you talk about empathy, and your question was about a lot of us want to do it, but we are not able to do it. I feel somewhere I'm blessed that I am able to do it because I meet a lot of people who say we love animals, we really want to do something. You might be compassionate, but because there's so much of sadness, there's so many emotions, there are so many failures, not all of us are able to deal with it, which doesn't mean for me seeing an animal suffer makes it any easier. It's just that I know that this is my calling, and if not me, then who? So that is something that resonates with me every time I'm helping an animal in distress or I'm seeing an animal suffer. Yes, there are tears behind the scene, but it's always, if not me, then who's going to do this? And you just have to have the passion and and be able to deal with your emotions also at the end of the day.
Absolutely. As I said, it's not easy. That it takes a lot of inherent strength to get to what you're doing. What prepared you for the emotional and physical demands of the profession? I have seen you personally on your feet saying that you finished this, now you're going in for surgery, you're doing this, and it's 7:30 in the evening probably?
Yes.
And it's not easy. and it takes a lot out of a person. How do you deal with it? As a whimsical person would say a mantra for it, or what do you do to keep it going, keep yourself going?
I think the first thing, I think emotionally, what is very satisfying, and unfortunately, this doesn't happen with other professions where you have a 9 to 5 job.
Right.
You know, you are happy you've fulfilled your task or your
Right.
job, or probably your boss says like, okay, you've done a great job, and you know you've struck a deal.
Correct.
For us, just the fact that you've saved a life, you've made a difference to somebody else's life.
Right.
My validation at the end of the day is that the animal is alive. I've been able to save a life. So emotionally, that is so satisfying that no matter, even if we probably work for 48 hours at a stretch also, you know, when you're doing critical surgeries and you're monitoring them throughout the night, that does not matter the moment you know that you've saved a life, you know, you made a difference to somebody's life. Even when you're looking at pet parents, be it
Right.
not only the rescue sector where my passion is wildlife, just to know, you know, you walk in as a hero at every time, and a lot of people will always remember you, as against that you might strike a deal for your boss, but he's not going to be bothered about it the next day or next week.
It's always something divine when someone kind of works with lives and manages to get them out of something which was, well, not going that in their favor. What challenges did you face early in your career?
Yes, I would say my biggest challenge started from the fact that back then vet school, there were just 5 schools in India.
Right.
And it was just 60 students per year, plus you had all your reservation quotas, and I was very passionate. I was a good student, but not good enough to qualify for vet school.
Right.
So I gave my entrance exam 3 times. I didn't qualify, and my first challenge started with that you know, Dad, this is what I really want to do, and this is my calling.
Right.
So right from convincing my parents this is what I wanted to do, then making a career in exotics, in avians, in wildlife, because even till today our entire veterinary system, when you talk about birds, it's only poultry. It's
Right.
they only talk about production, you know, what you can do to generate maximum revenues, what you
Right.
can do to increase production. So I stepped into the field where we are not thought about it. So it was always going to be very, very challenging. So
Right.
right from a lot of self-learning, a lot of going abroad, interning at places. So right from a student till today, the challenges don't change. A lot of times challenges decrease. No, they only increase because you are also trying to improve yourself as a person,
Absolutely.
as a clinician, plus the kind of things that are, you know, put your way in terms of when you're talking about challenges, infrastructure, knowledge, and the kind of cases that come across. Because when you start dealing with normal cases, then people start giving you things, you know, it's like life keeps giving you challenges.
Correct.
So as a clinician, as a doctor, you're faced with more and more complicated challenges. And when you have that goal in mind that, no, I want to save this life,
True.
come what may. So your challenges are always increasing. You are always looking at how to improve your skills, how to do better, what more can you do to make an animal's life better.
How do vets understand pain or distress in animals when they can't speak?
It's the same way when you have a kid, right? As a mother, you just understand it.
Yes.
Trust me, there has to be compassion when you are
Right.
a vet. No vet without compassion can be successful. You know, you may not be so emotionally involved with the animal, but you know, pain is something that most vets will definitely identify. Although at the same time, when, you know, I have a turtle as a patient or a
Right.
guinea pig, now most people think like turtles are this one solid rock. How do you define pain? How do you know the animal is pain? And in pain, and then I convey to the owner, you know, this animal is in a lot of pain. So they also find it very surprising, like how can you tell? But I think that's an inherent, what do you say, it's something that we are equipped with, because
guess, yes,
for
of
us
course.
it's not only about treating them, there's a lot of compassion and science that goes together in veterinary medicine.
course.
So that is something that most of us have developed a knack for. Of course you have medical ways to know things and all, but
Certainly.
yes, it's an inherent thing.
Does the way a society treat animals reflect its compassion? So, for instance, as you just mentioned, how society used to treat animals earlier, where we had all these, the Tonga rides and the Victoria and
yes.
all these, and we had camel rides on the beach, I remember back in the day, of course, not anymore. Do you think this reflects the compassion of the society as a whole as to how we treat animals? It defines it, but how do you think this resonates today?
So a lot of things are like, like I said, even the bear dancing or the monkey dancing, these things were accepted by society. It was passed on for generations.
Right.
But now with so much of awareness, people understanding feelings, compassion and all of it has changed. So
Right.
you will see most places that people are aware about cruelty in whatever forms it is to an animal. So definitely it reflects how a society is treating animals, definitely plays an important role, and it also reflects about the society. But I think things are changing. Whatever cruelty, a lot of times we have to understand that most people did things unaware, right?
Right.
So your younger generation is always questioning any of these
True.
things, any form of cruelty, any form of mistreatment to animals.
Correct.
You will see the amount of youngsters who are drawn towards animal welfare now, who understand compassion, who understand, why don't you adopt a dog off the road versus buying a bird, versus buying a dog, why there is no need to cage a bird. Now society has done that for years and generations together. But your younger generation understands the value of freedom,
Correct.
they understand compassion, and that is a reflection of society in today's world.
I think also the awareness due to social media, I
Yes.
feel has,
Yes.
earlier there was no accountability, so it's
Yes.
okay. But today it's become social media
Yes.
so rampant. If they see any cruelty, there goes a video online,
Yes.
and there's the awareness. So
Absolutely.
that does play an
Yes.
important part.
Yes.
What are the common misconceptions people have about animal care?
The first thing that they think that it's easy. I would think your baby will still grow up. Your baby will still, pick up his water bottle, probably eat his food on his own at some point in life once he becomes older. But they are babies for life.
Correct.
And the moment they turn older, they become a bigger kid. So it's a lot of it's a commitment.
Okay.
It's an absolute commitment to having a pet.
Right.
So that is something people
Absolutely.
don't understand a lot of times, and they just bring in a pet. The same goes for a reptile or a bird. People think and people sell them off also like that, saying like, oh, the bird, you just need to put in food like twice a day, and so much that goes into it
Absolutely.
that people don't. In spite of people Googling so much, they don't Google these aspects of it. Like, for example, a bird.
Right.
Most of your macaws are going to live for 70 years. But have you thought about the fact that you're going to be caring for this bird, or you're not going to be around and this bird is still going to be around when he's 70 years old?
Oh my God.
So those are important aspects people don't keep in mind.
And talking specifically about birds and now the
Yeah.
macaw, you're caging that bird, and then God forbid if nobody's there to take care of that bird goes out free. He's not used to the wild.
So people don't keep all of this in mind when they're actually buying pets a lot of time.
That's something that I have always spoken of.
Yeah, so like there were COVID babies, there were a lot of COVID puppies, a lot of them, and then post-COVID, when people went back to work, they didn't know what to do.
Exactly.
A lot of them were abandoned,
Right.
given up for adoption. That just happened. So people don't realize that.
In fact, right now, over the past few days, keeping what's happening globally in mind, I was reading that the UAE has a law
Yes.
for abandonment of animals which are being abandoned now, but they still have a law that they have to be placed in adoption centers. We don't have that law here.
We
It's
don't.
very unfortunate, and it was so heartening to read that every life is given that kind of importance.
Yeah.
We don't really pay attention to that aspect. Is that something that?
So, I mean, the laws aren't very strict when it comes to, owning a pet, unfortunately. So that is one of the main reasons why a lot of these animals are bought, they are abandoned. You'll see fancy breeds of
Precisely.
dogs. I had a boxer, this is like 25 years back. and was tied to a garbage can. And my mom was passing by in the bus, and she had seen the dog, and then after school we went there, we got him. So we don't have any laws. And what happened 30 years back as a kid, what I had witnessed, still happens even now. People abandon pets left, right, center, especially in old age. We have people abandon animals outside our clinic. We've had 2 weeks back we had a paralyzed cat whom we are caring for at the moment. People abandon your tortoises, after some point, because they realize it's nice. At that point, they'll just dump them in the sea. Now, these are river animals. They're supposed to survive in the river. So that is really, really sad, because they don't want to spend on treatment. They just abandon the animal. So that is quite heartbreaking, especially in old age. We see a lot of dogs that are really old getting abandoned. That is pretty heartbreaking.
What challenges do animals and birds face in urban Mumbai today?
When we are talking about pets, I think the biggest challenge is space. So I have a boxer who is so boisterous and only wants to play, and I feel blessed that on weekends I take him to my farm, and I see him, a dog being a dog, running, playing, going to the river, having his space. Unfortunately, now for a lot of city dogs, the whole concept of going out has been, you hire a dog walker, you get walked for 20 minutes morning, 20 minutes evening. And even if you follow this closely, you'll see that dog walker will probably be sitting in one corner on his mobile phone. So I feel a lot of times, a lot of pets, and that's when I feel my boy is really lucky. Jordan's really lucky, because he gets to be himself, he gets to be a dog. But for most pets, I think constraint of space is what I think in the city
also
is a challenge.
The noise, the pollution, the construction.
Yeah, so we have so many pets coming with allergies because of the construction, the traffic. A lot of pets are not very okay with, being around loud noises and lots of traffic. So that part, I think that they miss out on definitely being outdoors and, being in their true element and true personality, especially your big dogs, because they are used to, they need space. They are meant for space. When you talk about birds, that's even sadder, because I see a lot of exotics, a lot of birds, and birds are meant to fly in the sky, come what may. Even if you give a bird a golden cage and you give him the best food possible. So unfortunately, a lot of birds like macaws, which are used to flying for miles together, are kept in really tiny cages. Not only that, the other thing that becomes a problem is most people don't have time for them. They buy the bird with the concept that the time needed to be given, the walks that are generally done for dogs is not needed for them. So all those things, I mean, it's sad that mental stimulation isn't there for them. They don't get to be among other birds. They don't get to fly. So those constraints are there, as against, if you had bigger spaces.
Have you, of course, being in the profession that you are, have you seen an increase in the number of people that want to have exotic animals at home in the past few years, recent years? Is it just a status symbol, or?
Yes. So it's all the time. You'll be surprised that we have kids who come in who have saved money over years and bought in a macaw or an African grey, which can cost anywhere from 90,000 to 2 lakhs. So it's become more of owning something fancy
rather than taking care of it.
It's about status. It's about owning something fancy more than actually, understanding the responsibilities, duties that come. Because a lot of times when these kids come in with birds like that, or people come in with, and when they have to actually spend on treatment, they don't want to. They are okay with not treating the bird, with losing the bird. So that's when you realize that this is just an impulsive buy in most cases. And obviously with your social media, everybody sees. So social media has its pros and cons. But that because of that, we see a lot of exotics in the market, a lot.
And have you seen any difference from your point of view, now from a doctor's point of view? Have you seen or felt there's any difference in treating, say, an animal locally acquired or an exotic that's from a different country? Because are we equipped with all that? And what about the expenses, that are incurred to kind of take care of an exotic animal in comparison to a locally available species? Because
Yes.
it is very different.
Yes. So, yes, definitely, one, the science is different.
Absolutely.
The kind of care that they need is definitely different. So, even if you're talking about fancy breeds which have been imported, fancy breeds of dogs that have been imported, or your high-end birds or snakes that people bring in, they require a different set of care. A lot of times when you talk about exotics, none of their food that they eat.
Precisely.
So you have to spend an additional to bring that food in. A lot of time the enclosures, the habitat they need, that's not available.
Right.
So in those cases it becomes tough, because people bring in these animals, and when they are really sick, most of them suffer from nutritional issues. So it's very difficult to explain it to them. Yes, he's been fine, but this is your doomsday when things are actually going to happen.
Precisely,
Yeah.
because it's a build up, because nutritional devaluation is never
Yes.
instant.
So there are no instant fixes to it either.
What simple actions can people take to support animals and birds better, but on a different lifestyle based point of view? Like, what would you advise some, people, even me, for instance, I have a puppy,
I think one thing that we all as people want today is attention and love. Okay? The same goes for your animal. If you own a pet, don't just own him. The attention and love is very, very important. You might have 10 servants to take care of him, you might have walkers, but I think all of us as beings, whether animal or human,
Right.
need attention and love. When it comes to stray animals or wildlife, I think we all can be compassionate in our own way by simply trying as much as possible that with our actions you cause minimum harm or
Correct.
damage or suffering. So what do I do to make things better for them? So I would think the first thing is whatever we do in life to minimize any kind of suffering, indirectly or directly.
Absolutely.
Two is being compassionate. So if you see an animal that needs help in distress, you might not be the one to pick up the animal and go to the vet, but yes, you are the one who can connect to an NGO, who
Exactly.
can report an animal sick, who can care for that animal by providing food, water,
Right.
or sometimes financial aid. So
Precisely.
we all are equipped with ways to care for animals, which
Right.
does not always mean physically caring for them, but in our own way,
our own
we
ways.
definitely can.
I also believe, the animal kingdom, and of course how as humans to coexist, it's just live and let live.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the animal's not harming you, if he's not coming towards you, just go your own way. Have animals ever taught you something about life, personally speaking?
They've taught me everything. One, I find it amazing that threshold for pain and suffering. They could have gone through the worst worst incidences of your life. Like, I deal with a lot of orphan primates. So I have seen primate babies who are 1 day old clinging to their dead mother, and how they come out of it. So emotionally, they've taught me a lot that there's life beyond, whatever you see. So I think emotionally they've made me stronger. They've thought it's okay to give love without expecting. They will
Absolutely.
give you love without expecting anything in return. And for me, these two are very, very important things in my life.
What advice would you give young people?
So a lot of kids, and I mean, and I actually enjoy it. Especially I see a lot of girls who, get inspired with what I do, and there are a lot of people who write to me like, you're living the life that I want to live. I find that really good. And it motivates me, and I obviously enjoy that attention I get professionally, because it's really nice to see kids interested to care for animals.
Right.
So it's not only science that we are looking at. Oh, you're a great vet, you're a good vet, you do cool surgeries, you do cool stuff. But I would advise them, one, that have a combination of science and compassion. They both go hand in hand when you're
Right.
working with animals. And never stop learning, never think you know it all. These are
Precisely.
two things, and don't give up. Don't give up is so important, because when we work with animals, and especially when you're talking about exotics, wildlife, a lot of them die, a lot of them lose the battle. And that's where you feel dejected, you feel you're not good enough, you don't want to try again, you don't want to work with this particular species because they are so delicate, and you know, if the animal dies on you, somewhere we blame ourselves, even though we are not to be blamed, but we do give up, and emotionally it weakens us.
Correct.
So being emotionally strong is
very
very, very important, and as long as you know you've given it all, that's also very important.
Precisely.
So it's not only about doing cool cases or working with fancy species. It's a lot of you know, you have to have, it's tough, you have to have the emotional guts and to also deal with all of this.
You know, as a pet parent myself, I have seen many pet parents get animals that are, as we spoke about, animals who are from different countries, used to different climates, different temperatures. They are in Bombay. Siberian Huskies, Saint Bernards. They are not meant for this climate. What is the best advice for such, you know, pet parents? I mean, keeping them in an AC 24/7, you take them out for a walk, they are huffing and puffing. How do you, you know, handle such cases? Because those cases are they keep coming back.
Yes. So the first thing is that there has to be proper counseling and research done when you're looking at buying these breeds. So a lot of times I have kids come in with their parents, and you know, they'll open Instagram and they'll be like, what about this breed? And it's important to give them the right advice in terms of what will suit their schedule, their kids' schedule, and the care involved. So you have these fancy Saint Bernards and Alaskan Malamutes who look like, but at the same time the care involved is just so much with them that it's very important to advise the owners before they bring in those kind of breeds. Financially, you have to know how much, you know, you're going to be providing for them besides food, medical aid, and like you said, 24/7 AC.
Precisely.
And there is so much that, you know.
And they're grooming
they're grooming.
Hygiene, so many things.
There are so many things. And also, remember, they're going to get old. So when you have a 60 kg dog getting old with arthritis, not being able to get up, have you thought over it, how you're going to care for this animal, how you're going to take this animal for his walk? So all these things are very important. And we, in our puppy consult, although even we'll go all over the puppy and say like, oh, this is so cute, and click 10 pictures.
Yes.
I still make sure the owner is aware of what the old age is going to be like, what the challenges are also going to be like when you're dealing with any of these fancy breeds.
It makes sense to prepare them, because I don't think most people go in prepared.
No.
It's only after they've got the animal in their hand, they're like, now what?
Yes.
So, what qualities are essential in veterinary medicine?
First is compassion. You have to be open to learning at every given point. Every animal teaches you something. Not only emotionally, not only scientifically, it just brings in so much of patience, you know, perseverance that you learn. So compassion is number one, definitely. That quality, I would definitely say.
What does strength mean to you, doctor?
Strength for me is being tired, dejected at the end of the day after losing an animal where I've given my 200 or 500%, and getting up, going back to work the next day and smiling at the new puppy that's come in for the consult. So that
takes a lot.
That takes a lot, which people don't realize, because like I said, because of so much of social media influence, you'll always see the nice cute posts that all of us vets put up playing with puppies, but you don't see the tears, you don't see the dejection, you don't see the sleepless nights. So that is strength, not only for me, for a lot of us.
As they say, that this is the face of it and this is the journey behind it, the story behind it.
Definitely.
It always reminds us that, you know, there are different forms of strength, and having you with us today shows one very important facet of it. Thank you.